Here we are, December 18th, 2016. I added some earrings. Dial it up a little bit. I'll probably dance out the robe once in a while, but I don't mean disrespect. It's just one of my dear closest friends said that she liked it, so I'm doing this for a while. But I don't mean disrespect by not dressing appropriately for you, but maybe it's comforting in some manner. All right, let's start. It's going to be an exciting morning. I'm going to try to keep it in my Sunday salutation 15-minute trip, but may have to spill over a little bit. I don't know. Okay, let's go ahead and get our vertical axis. Sort of swing on your sits bones and side to side, just reminding yourself that you are a human being in a body, having a human experience, and that you are of the earth and of the heavens. That there's a purpose and an experience here for you, just for you. And then go ahead and give yourself a little traction up and down, not too abrupt, just a little just creating a little space without creating more rigidity or control in our last week's discussion. To see if you can just be in your body. And then go ahead and salute your breath in whatever current state it's naturally in. And just notice when we put a focus on something, what happens to the relationship with that thing. In this case, your breath, your body, space around you. Wouldn't it be wonderful just to be present like this every moment? Be interesting, life-changing. And then open your eyes, if they're not already open. And just look around. I've taught this a few times in different classes, but we often are looking and grabbing with our eyes, right? And missing out, again, on this groovy scene, the peripheral world. See if you can just sit in your body and allow that awareness to fall back into what I call the soft eyes, or art space, where you look at a piece of art, or you are with a piece of art, however you want to say it. It's gentler, right? It's soft, like letting things come to you versus you grasping. Right? There's a certain kind of violence to that. And that is just like the butterfly effect. You know, how you do one thing affects everything else. So just notice right now, before we start on our topic, what happens when you just allow things to come to you. You know, have your own experience here. This is a form of contemplation, which is a form of prayer. It's not supplication prayer. It's a very sophisticated way of praying. Sophisticated in the sense that it, well, you're having the experience right now, which is better than me talking about it. But I am here to talk about stuff, so I'll try to put some words to it. Sophisticated in the sense of not hoity-toity, but sophisticated in the simplicity, because that's sophistication is simple and elegant and graceful, right? So sophisticated in the sense that you're willing to let go, right? Here again, you're allowing stuff to come to you, and that right there is a way of tempering the ego, right? The small ego, the adapted ego, not the ego that allows us to function. So it's another way of tempering the ego. That's why it's sophisticated, right? Your willingness to allow things to come to you. Well, that right there is just take that in. Which is a great segue, thank you, Revzo, into the topic. you can thank Jan Sobel for this. Long-term student. I often call him my number one son, out of affection. He's traveling the world for another year. Yeah, he's going to be gone for 2 years. But anyway, or whatever. Anyway, he asked me to speak on what is the connection between original sin, the idea of original sin, and the master wound, which, as you all know, is sort of the name for the body of work that I've been bestowed to teach from and work from. Nothing new. It's just the way it came and the way I speak to it. Okay, so original sin. People usually equate that with Christian Judaic mythology, or the story of how things began. But really, the idea is not unique to the Christian Judaic model at all. It's just the way the language is. People get sort of strung out. But there's more, it's the common thing in Hinduism and Buddhism and everything. It's like basically, it's the particular story we're calling the original sin is where, for whatever reason, we separated from God. That is it, right? And in this case, the story of most of you know, and if not, here it is. You can read it in Genesis. If you get a good Bible, where's my Bible? Yeah, shoot. There's my granny's Bible, but it's hard to read. Anyway, it's in Genesis. You know, Adam and Eve, right? So Adam and Eve were the Garden of Eden. And God said, look, this is your place. Live, flourish. The life is here. It is the bounty, right? And except one proviso. Don't eat from the tree of knowledge. Ergo, here we go. Long story short is, Snakey shows up and says, hey man, why would I be here if it wasn't okay to eat from the tree? So, long story short is, Eve took the apple and Adam freaked out like a pussy, and then she ate it, and he said she didn't eat it. Essentially, at that point, their innocence fell away, and they saw themselves. They felt the separation. They saw their differences. They saw that was the beginning of the dichotomy, right? Up, down, right, wrong, good versus evil. Like everything was revealed to them because they went against their own inner knowledge. I'm now transitioning more to the Hindu and Buddha model, right? Is that you go against your inner truth, your inner obedience, which is another class I'm going to teach on obedience. So by their actions, they created their suffering. Let's slip forward to the Buddhist idea. What's the basis for all suffering? Desire. So, that's just a fact. And it's not about getting rid of desire, but it's actually becoming conscious of how desire actually works. Educating yourself. How it perpetuates itself and it's never, ever going to fulfill you. And you have to live through, one has to live through all the desires until you see them all the same. That is the original sin, right? And some people call it ancestral sin. It speaks for itself. The refusal to accept the truth, right? And one of the Hindu ideas is that God separated from himself to experience the longing for itself, which I love, which is another way of saying what I just said. We have to live through all these dichotomies in order to come back to the truth. And there's no rushing it. You can't rush this process because we have created the situation from lifetimes of not accepting the truth. Ergo, master wound. So you could say the mega master wound is when we separated from God. And then we keep perpetuating the suffering by thinking it's going to be different. Back to the master wound directly. So you have your parents, you get your wounding, And then until you get to the place of grace where you start really wanting to deepen your understanding and practice, spiritual practice, you're either in denial of it or you're obsessed with it and you're trying to get everyone else to fix it. When actually, whatever came to you, and this is the big boy, big girl pants, whatever came to you directly because you needed the experience. Now, don't let the little mind go crazy here, because I'm not condoning abuse, which, you know, that's my background, but it's what happened. Big girl, big boy pants, spiritual pants, you turn to it and you say, yes, that's what happened, no matter how hard, no matter how difficult, no matter how painful, because that experience, whatever it was, came in to help cultivate my understanding. And it came in on a series of other experiences that I don't even remember. In other words, I created this experience because my soul needs it to evolve. Big, big, big girl, big, big boy pants. Because here's the connection, you guys. If you run from the experience, if you're in denial of the experience, what are you doing? You're eating from the tree of knowledge, because you're putting a projection on the experience that it was wrong or that it didn't happen. Are you getting this, I trust? So the original sin is the denial, the not being obedient to the truth, letting desire overrun you, then having to feel the separation because the desire gets fulfilled and then you're back to ground zero again. So the original sin is they couldn't accept the truth, the obedient demand that God said, and so then they created their own suffering by then separating and having to live a life of tilling, hard work and suffering, and then always thinking they're going to fulfill something deeper inside themselves that they never could. Thinking maybe this time, right, from Cabaret, maybe this time. Which when you get past the original wound, the original master wound of this lifetime, you have to move through that in your own pace. But then you start working at a deeper level, and this is how it continues to, where do you continue to separate in your daily life? Where do you have preferences and aversions? Where do you still want to see something as right or wrong? That is Maya, right? What happened is that the original sin, they fell from grace, the grace of innocence, because they let a desire take over, which then the innocence was taken away and they saw all they were left with is the dichotomies of right and wrong, which chase us around year after year after year after year. This is a big one, you guys. It's a total change in perspective. And the danger is then to turn on yourself and then go, what did I do to deserve this? Which is a slippery slope because it's still the ego running the show. You got to get past that to, this is what's happening. The dignified, spiritually mature thing is to then relate to it, to relate to whatever the thing is that's happening. This is why it's day in and day out. How many times have you heard me beat this horse, right? Desire is the root of all suffering. They took themselves out of the state of innocence because they couldn't accept the truth, their own inner command. They went against their own inner commandment. This is, I'm bringing more the Eastern onto this. When we don't relate to what happened, when we're in defiance, when we're judging it, we're keeping ourselves in hell. Basically, they fell out of grace into hell. The dichotomies, the world of desires is hell. This is the realm of the hungry ghost. That's why nothing ever is going to change here, you guys. And that's not a problem. Like, I wish for you, my prayer is that you actually see the freedom in that. Because then you can actually participate. The protest, plant a tree, take a trip, have a baby, but you do it with a lot more love and surrender. Because you see, not one thing's more important than the other. It's all in how you relate to it. Because this world is this world, man. Like Vivekananda says it the best, it's like the curly tail of a dog. You keep trying to straighten it out and it's going to go right back. Let it go. Be here. Be here completely. But do not think it's going to change. It will never change. Ever. And you have to participate. This is the koan. This is the daily, this is the Tao, baby. Back to the original sin. Back to your master wound. Are you still in defiance? Because if you're in defiance against the thing that you actually created. I created a whole life, years of abuse from people in my family. And I stand here before you, sit here before you, grateful for that pain and that terror that I went through. It was the building block. First of all, it ripped my heart open. It showed me the depth of humanity, of the pain of humanity of my mom and dad. It was the first building block to do the work that I do. I salute it every day. There's nothing wrong. This is the thing. This is why JC was the avatar for forgiveness. Because his particular gifts was because he could see that that's where people are stuck. Like if you cannot get to the state of forgiveness, you're in hell. And it's a state. It's not a statement. It's a state of being. And you can't fake it till you make it, man. You got to go through the steps, right? You cannot enter the kingdom of heaven without being like a child. Every tradition says this. Because it's a state of innocence. 5 minutes longer than I meant to, but I'm going to trust that this came in. This is from the Holy Mother. Getting ready to teach a retreat on Tuesday, all-day retreat for some folk in San Francisco. Just going to read something really quick. In course of a talk one evening, Mother said, "I can no longer find fault in anyone, my son. Each has to get the results of the actions he earned for this life. A pen, at least, must prick where a wound from a sword was due. So the sooner you pony up and salute whatever happened to you at the big girl, big boy spiritual pants, the better for you. And then the idea is then to extend that into all aspects of your life." People only look for faults. One should look for the merits as well. Ongoing continuation of the events of the last few months, right? That would be my invitation for you for this week. You guys are working what's my asshole nature? How am I like him? Well, my next challenge to you, until I speak to you on Christmas, the person or thing you hate still or angry at, here's my invitation. That's all great, you're working the asshole work, that's great. Now be willing to find their humanity and their heart. Okay? Thank you. Hari Om Tat Sat. Another day in paradise. Here we go. Lots of love. See you later.